The agents executed the search warrant of Collie's apartment. They recovered the Draco pistol, a Taurus semi-automatic pistol, ammunition, drug paraphernalia, a clear glass pipe, and what is commonly referred to as a bong, as well as what appeared to be mushrooms. Collie was then taken into custody on Friday evening. He made his initial appearance here in federal court Friday evening, and pursuant to a criminal complaint that is being unsealed today. These charges that expose him up to a possible term of imprisonment of up to 15 years in prison, and the case will move forward next with a detention hearing on Wednesday. I want to make a couple quick points about this case, and then I will invite any questions that you may have. The points are, number one, again, to be clear, there is no evidence and no allegation in this criminal complaint that Kollie intentionally participated in the planning of Betts' August 4th shooting, so I don't want that to be misconstrued. That's not what this case is about, but what this case is about is, in the course of this ongoing investigation into the August 4th shooting, anyone who is discovered to have any criminal culpability for any act that ultimately is discovered through the investigation or contributed in any way to the events on August 4th is going to be held criminally responsible. And more generally, not only is possessing controlled substances illegal, but possessing controlled substances and possessing a firearm is itself a crime. And that is not something that federal agents who are investigating this or any matter are going to ignore, and that is why Mr. Kollie has been charged in federal court Friday afternoon and unsealed here today. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
What led you to Mr. Kollie so quickly on Sunday?
So I can't get into the specifics of exactly why that was, although you'll see that if you read the affidavit in support of the criminal complaint, on August 4th, there was the FBI agents and ATF agents spoke with Mr. Kollie briefly at that time and then re-interviewed him later in the week. So I think it's clear from reading this affidavit that Mr. Kollie and Mr. Betts have known each other for a long time.
Were any of these things that he purchased, would he have been prohibited from purchasing them based on his drug use, like the magazine, the body armor, and the upper receiver?
The magazine, no, but you cannot possess a firearm if you are an unlawful possessor of user of controlled substances.
Can you walk us through the process of reviewing these forms if simply lying can allow somebody to get them?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have a system of transferring firearms in this country where we have the ATF form 4473 is designed to make sure that anybody who does apply for a firearm to purchase it legally, that you catch all those people who would be disqualified by federal law from possessing the firearm. That form requires people to fill it out truthfully under penalty of federal prosecution. So we do rely on people being honest. If they're not honest and they're caught, they can be federally prosecuted, and that is a crime that is punishable by up to 5 years in federal prison, and that is what Mr. Kollie is charged with here.
How many people, though, don't get caught because a situation like this doesn't happen? Do you think? How often do you believe this happens?
Oh, I can't speak to that. I can say that this office vigorously prosecutes anyone who has falsified a Form 4473.
When's the last time you prosecuted someone on that count?
We have prosecuted straw purchasers routinely, including as recently as last year.
Nothing in Betts' background to say that he didn't buy that gun. Why didn't he just order these accessories himself? Why was Kollie involved?
So according to the affidavit in support of the criminal complaint, the affidavit says that Kollie was involved because Betts wanted to hide the purchase of these of this ammunition, or of this magazine, body armor, and AR part from his parents.
So this was the straw man kind of situation, just by buying firearm equipment and parts. Like you're supposed to still do it yourself?
Yeah, but if there was not an indication, for example, that that Betts would himself have been any more or less disqualified from buying any of these things than Kollie.
What's the likelihood of additional charges being filed at the federal level with anything in connection with that August 4th incident?
This investigation is ongoing, and Special Agent in Charge Wickerham, would you care to speak to that at all?
I mean, it's still ongoing. There's a lot that has been done in the past week. There's still a lot to go through, a lot of evidence to review, a lot of investigation to conduct.
Have you gotten into the cell phones?
We did get into the primary cell phone that the shooter was carrying on him when he did the shooting on August 4th. Yes.
Can you share anything about what you found there?
We're still processing and going through that. Obviously, that's a high priority for us, is to get through that cell phone, but it was opened late last week, and we are now reviewing the contents.
You say Kollie did not have any part of the planning, at least you haven't got any evidence of that yet. So what did he think that Betts was going to use all of this for? What was their conversation?
I can't speak to exactly what he thought he was going to use the firearm for, but we have not found any indication that he knew he was going to conduct this attack.
Do you anticipate any more criminal charges related to people that Betts knew or was friends with?
Let me take that one, actually. So as Special Agent in Charge Wickerham was saying, this investigation is open and ongoing. Agencies are working together to make sure that every last piece of evidence is thoroughly reviewed. And I think what you can take away safely is that if anyone is found to have any criminal responsibility for any action that is discovered during the course of this investigation, it will be prosecuted.
With the understanding of the severity of this incident, did the individual that were here in question about apologize for even doing the act that he committed?
I'm not going to speak to any circumstantial evidence beyond that which is complained in the affidavit at this stage of the proceeding.
Are CCW holders ever subject to drug testing?
I cannot speak to the intricacies of CCW law in Ohio. I can say that I feel comfortable saying, although it's not strictly in the affidavit, that Kollie CCW was confiscated at the time of the search.
Can you talk about the majority of time if he's found guilty of these alleged crimes that he's committed? How much time could he serve?
So the two crimes that are mentioned in the criminal complaint, one of them is a penalty of 0 to 5 years in prison, and the other is 0 to 10 years in prison. So conceivably 0 to 15 years in prison, anywhere in that range.
Would this also be considered the tip of the iceberg? If he's done this once, more than likely he's done it twice, maybe 3 times. So we can look at his past to see.
I definitely cannot speak to that sort of question, how frequently this might have occurred, but I can say again that this is going to be an extremely thorough, and is an extremely thorough investigation of any and all aspects that went into ultimately what happened on August 4th. Any kind of crimes, any federal crimes that are uncovered as a result of that investigation will be prosecuted fully.
Are his charges or penalties increasing severity since the weapon was used in a mass shooting, or will he have gotten the same charges and penalty if it had not been involved, if he had just been caught with drugs?
It's the same charges regardless.
How long did they know each other? Did they grow up together? They just meet in 2014?
Well, it's clear from the affidavit in support of the complaint that they've known each other for several years, quite a few years. It indicates at least back to 2014. I believe longer, but I don't want to get into speculation about precisely how long.
I don't know if they went to school together or anything of that nature.
I don't want to get into additional evidence that is beyond the scope of the affidavit.
Did Betts actually, did he falsify any firearms reports based on this investigation, what you found here?
We don't have the ability to say that he falsified forms at this time. Certainly, it is what Kollie falsified. It is a crime to possess a firearm or to acquire a firearm when you are an illegal drug user. So that is a crime, and we are comfortable charging that against Kollie at this time.
The drug use alleged between the two men, did that have anything, is that significant at all to what happened last weekend? You know that Betts had been using drugs at all?
I will just say that the investigation remains ongoing.
Would or could this shooting have been carried out still had these purchases not been made?
I can say that the purchases that are at issue here were some of the equipment that was used in August 4th. So this body armor, the accessory for the AR, and the double drum magazine was the equipment that was used on August 4th.
What is
that
that
accessory?
accessory?
Kollie could face more serious charges than the ones you've currently approved?
I'm not going to speak to any additional charges other than those that are stated here.
What is that accessory? What is that? I don't know.
It's a component of the AR.
What does it do?
So it's just, you can just, when you buy an AR style gun, there are different components and people can assemble them themselves. So certain parts you have to acquire using the Form 4473, but then other parts can be acquired separately and put together separately, and that's what happened, or is alleged to have happened in this case.
What kind of part of it?
Just the top, the upper receiver.
Was the actual AR hidden from the parents as well, or did they know of that?
I can't speak to that.
We always ask you to sum up situations like this, just your thoughts on what this means to the community, how horrific this was.
Yeah, so, my thoughts are that I want to be clear that this investigation into what happened on August 4th is ongoing. It's going to be thorough. The FBI, Dayton Police, will do everything possible to get to the bottom of every piece of evidence. If any criminal wrongdoing is discovered in the course of that investigation that is capable of being prosecuted, it will. Today is an example of that.
So it wasn't,
Yeah. One more question.
so it wasn't a crime for him to have purchased these accessories for Betts if he hadn't been a legal drug user. That in itself was not a crime.
That is not charged as a crime. Thank you.
Biggest mass shooting case in your career, Ben?
Unfortunately, yes. Yes. Thank you.